Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome back to the My Favorite Things YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be recreating this adorable little bear card that design team member Francine created using products from the September 2017 release. So we're primarily going to be using the Bitty Bears stamp set and using that exact same bear image except for one. And then we're also going to be using a little party hat from the Happy Hippo stamp set as well. And we're going to use that to go onto some of our little bear images. So I have already stamped out some of the bears and colored them in with my Copic markers, but I did leave one of the little bears that's sitting down not colored, as well as the guy there with the balloon, and I'm going to color those ones on screen. So all of the bears that I've already colored are colored the exact same way as the one I'm doing right now. And I'm using the colors that you see up on the screen there. So I'm using E42, E43, and E44 as the primary colors. And then I'm also using E87 just to kind of have a darker color right along the left side edge of that bear, just to create some shadows. It's completely personal preference when you're coloring with your Copics and you're kind of using a few different shades to create that shaded effect. If you want to start with your lightest or your darkest. I usually prefer to start with my lightest and then work my way towards dark. But with these guys here, I actually started and laid down some of that darker color first and then just kind of pulled all of the different colors in from darkest to lightest and then just kept going over the image until I had everything really saturated and nicely blended. And when you first put down that E87 color, it definitely looks a lot darker than the other colors that we are using to color the bear. But once we do our layering and blend those colors together, it looks like they all go perfectly together and we have a really nice shaded image with that really nice brown color. For the little noses on the bears, I didn't want them to be overly dark. I just wanted to give a little bit of color because I didn't want them stark white. So I did add a little bit of E50 to both of the noses. And then I also used my R22 marker to add pink cheeks to all of the bears. I normally use R20 when doing cheek detail, but with the bears, since they were a darker brown, I decided to go with a little bit of a darker pink color so it would really stand out. Now for the balloon, I am doing R24, 29, and 39, and I'm just shading that and having some dark areas around the outside edge and then working my way towards the lightest color in the middle. And then I used a couple of BG colors to color in the little party hats. Now I want to have some additional balloons on the card design, but I don't want that bear image with all of the balloons. So what I'm going to do is I'm just masking off the part of the stamp that I don't want to stamp. So I used some washi tape and just laid it across the bear image so that only the top of the balloon shows. And then I'm going to go ahead and put that into my black ink and take off the washi tape before stamping it down. And then what that does is leaves me with just the balloon image and the little bottom part of the balloon there. So I want to do a few of these, so I'm going to repeat the same process. And every time I do this, I am using a new piece of washi tape just so I don't end up getting ink all over my fingers. So I'm just once again applying the washi tape over top of the bear part of the image and then inking up the balloon, removing the washi tape, and then stamping that down. So I stamped out 4 separate balloons and made sure to kind of space them apart enough that I'm going to be able to cut them out with a border. And now I need to add the string to the bottom area of the balloons. So I just have a black marker and I'm just going to go ahead and very loosely just kind of draw a wavy string coming off of the balloon. And I'm going to do this for all 4 of these balloon images. I'm going to do the same coloring on all 4 of these balloons, so I'm using the same R24, R29, and R39 red markers. And I'm starting off with my darkest R39, kind of really heavy at the bottom left of the balloon and then just kind of around the rest of the outside edge. And then I just work in the other 2 colors going towards the center so that I have a nice dark shadow on the outside and the lighter color up on the top area of the balloon. And then once I have all that coloring done, we're going to need to cut these out. But since we have kind of modified this stamp image and this is its own image now, we aren't going to be able to cut it out with the coordinating die since we've removed the bear part. So what I need to do is I need to use my scissors and I need to cut out the balloons separately first. So I'm just going to take a small pair of scissors and I'm going to make sure when I do cut out the balloon that I leave a small white border all the way around the edges so that it looks the same as the bear images once we die cut those out. So you can see now I kind of jumped ahead. I have all of the bear images die cut, the little party hats die cut, and the balloons I've all hand cut. And now I'm adding a little bit of blue ink to the bottom of a card base. This is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card base. And I've added that blue ink all along the bottom edge. For the sentiment, we're going to be using the Happy Birthday sentiment from the Bitty Bear stamp set. So I'm just taking some black licorice dye ink and I've stamped that out onto a little banner there that I've cut from some white cardstock. And I'm just going to set this aside and work on the bottom area of the card. So I want to adhere all of these little bears straight across the entire card. So this is actually the front of the card and the back of the card because we would have it folded normally, but I've opened it completely open so that I can position all of these little bear images all across the bottom. And if you kind of overlap them a little bit, you can fit 4 bears on both the back and the front of the card. You just want to make sure when you are adhering them that you don't overlap over that middle score line because that's where the card is going to fold closed. So for the front of the card, to add a little bit of dimension, I am using some foam squares, and I'm just adding one of those to the back of each of those little bears, and then I'm adhering them onto the card. I also added the little bear with the balloon in the front part of the card as well. And then for the little bears on the back of the card, I used regular adhesive to adhere those. I didn't want to have any additional dimension because it is the back of the card, so I decided just to leave those ones flat to the card and the front ones the ones with the dimension. I added 2 of the balloons to the back of the card, giving one of the bears one to hold and the other one kind of floating up in the air. And then on the front of the card, I added the sentiment strip with some more foam adhesive. And I'm also putting some foam adhesive on the back of the 2 extra balloons. I'm going to add one kind of tucked underneath that sentiment strip. And then I'm also going to add one in kind of floating down above one of the bears there at the bottom. And then once I have those on there, we have finished placing all of the little images. So we have the fun dimensional bears on the front, and then when we open the card, the bears continue across the back of the card as well. To finish off the card, I'm just taking a white gel pen and adding a little dot into each of the bears' cheeks just to add a little bit more detail to those, and then that is going to complete our card. So thank you so much to Francine for creating such an adorable card for us to recreate in today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon.